Welcome to EDS 2025 in very sunny Wesley Chapel, Florida, a stone's throw away from Tampa. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Willie Hochman. How you doing, Willie?
Great. Jonah, good to see you.
Great to see you. So, you are the person who, when I started my career in 2002, I didn't come from like a real nonprofit background. I started in Federation, the Jewish Federation system. And I was like, I did not grow up on my father's lap at Super Sunday. Like I didn't come from that culture and that community. So I had zero perspective of like what a career trajectory would look like in the space. I just knew I wanted to help the Jewish people. I liked fundraising. I liked doing development work. And I would like peruse the Joel Paul Group website to look at all the job listings to say like, ooh, that looks interesting or that looks exciting. So it just, you kind of help give me like guidance on which way I should go with my career just by looking at like what was expected of professionals in the space. I don't know if you knew that I would be a lurker like that.
Well, thank God we have a lot of lurkers,
yes.
In your words. But yes, as you know, and hopefully your audience knows, the engine of every nonprofit, academic institutions, Jewish nonprofits, is fundraising.
Yes.
And, that is our specialty, but, it's only because the organizations come to us and we market to them. We do all kinds of placements across the board, from the C-level CEOs, executive directors, and a lot of directors of development, chief financial officers, and chief development officers as well.
When did you start Joel Paul?
So I'll go back to the history.
Okay.
Mr. Joel Paul started in his living room garage while he was doing things in the Philadelphia Hillel and also then YU leadership tours. And people were always asking him in 1986, Joel, do you know anybody Do you know anybody here? I'm looking at this. I'm looking. And he said, you'd always give good advice because that's what our Jewish brethren do.
Of course.
We try to help each other. And he would give advice. And then something just clicked with him. And he said, you know what? I'm going to start a company that I'm going to make shidduchs, I guess,
right.
In the professional world between organizations, academic institutions, and candidates who are professionals.
And was this pretty much Jewish nonprofits? Like, where was his wheelhouse?
Right. So from 1986 till today, and hopefully in the future, we are so laser focused only on Jewish nonprofits. We don't do secular nonprofits. We don't do the corporate world. It's always been asked of us, well, why don't you expand, get more clients, get more candidates? Our clients and prospects and former clients have always told us one of the reasons that we came to you was because you are so laser focused and know the Jewish nonprofit sector, candidates and organizations. That's why they come to us. So we stick with that model, which works. So Joel ran the business until 2009. For another podcast is my personal story, but at the end of an illustrious career on Wall Street, I was looking to do something different. A friend of mine who was a business broker came to me and said, I have this wonderful new business for you. What do you think? So along with a friend of mine, we became partners. He didn't want to be in the CEO's chair, so I took on the business and we partnered together. Joel stayed on with us, recruiters, we grew. And I've been running the Joel Paul Group since 2009. About 6 years ago, a mutual friend of ours who was in the insurance business also did insurance for my friend. His name is David Ganscher. David runs a larger search firm called the Moraine Group.
I know David Ganscher.
That's right. Yes,
he lives not far from me.
There you go.
I see him in shul once in a while.
He's going to enjoy this podcast.
Good.
then.
Okay. David, shout out to you. Love you. How you doing?
All right. So David and I were introduced because we had the same insurance broker. We do the same things. He never knew that there was a recruiting company that works solely in the Jewish nonprofit.
What a novelty.
He was fascinated because he did healthcare, engineering, dermatology, all kinds of stuff. Well, 3 years ago, I'm going back 5-6 years ago, right before COVID, he said, Willie, your kids are grown. I really need help in my Israel office. I travel 200 days a year. Why don't you come for a year, maybe 2? You and your wife will live in Israel. Don't sell your house in America yet.
Right.
But, run your business and watch over my business while I do a lot of traveling. And we said, wow, my kids will
What an opportunity.
Yeah. And then God has a sense of humor, and COVID hit.
Wow.
He stopped traveling. We didn't have the opportunity. We both kept along in our business.
Right.
Fast forward sort of right after COVID, we always kept in touch. And he came to me one day. He was in America traveling. We met. He says, how would you like to join my company? And he made me an offer I like the Godfather.
Yeah,
couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
So Moraine bought the Joel Paul Group in 2022. And I've been part of the Moraine Group with monikered as Joel Paul Group, a division of the Moraine Group. And again, all we do is the Jewish nonprofit world. We have
So you've changed nothing. You're doing the same work.
same sector, but as our clients know and our candidates know, the acquisition by Moraine Group gave us much more depth in marketing budgets, technology, recruiters. It's a larger company,
Right.
So
You have greater resources.
with greater resources, exactly. So it benefits our clients, benefits the industry, and we've, thank God, my acquirer is happy with what we do.
Amazing. I love it. Okay, so maybe you can give me some perspective here, because where I sit, I work with many different Jewish day schools and in Jewish education, and of course other organizations as well. And there always seems to be like a dearth of good talent in development. Everyone's looking for someone like, okay, but can they raise money? And then it's also one of those squishy things, like, are they successful? Right? Are they someone who's got the skills? They may look good on a resume. When they come into they might be successful in one place, but you put them in a different environment that maybe is a little bit more entrepreneurial, and they're not successful. It seems to be a very a very challenging thing to find good talent in development. From where you sit, and I'm sure you've dealt with this all day long, like you said, you specialize also in development. What are kind of some of the key components that you look at when you're looking for a proper fit for someone who can be successful? Because the person who's looking for the job, they want to be successful. No one goes into it saying, I don't want this to work. Right. And the organization wants them to be successful. Development, unfortunately, sometimes means like they're like houses on fire. The organization wants to raise money tomorrow, but no one good is going to be. I mean, again, I haven't met anybody, even who's good, is going to be able to raise the big bucks, 2 weeks after they show up. So how do you strike that balance? It to me sounds like such a big challenge.
John, it's a great question. Decades ago, before I bought the Joel Paul Group, I had thank God, a nice career on Wall Street. And one of my first mentors said to me the following. He said, there's an art and a science to selling.
Okay.
So we'll translate that to there's an art and a science to development.
Right.
You can teach the science of selling, and that's not something I copyrighted,
Right.
but there's a science. You can be taught, you can go to courses, you can learn from others how to do development as a malacha. I was going to use the word, sorry.
Yeah, as a practice.
As a practice, thank you. But the art, you can't teach the art.
Right.
If a person is, I'll use the word, introverted, they can do certain other jobs and certain things. You have to be an extrovert.
Right.
Everybody I know has an ego.
Right.
Some have a small, very small ego,
Right.
and some have too large an ego with a capital E. Got to find that balance.
So if you meet with somebody and they come into you and they sit in front of you, so they might have the bona fides on paper, the academic background on fundraising, but you could see how they are in front of you and go, I'm not sure. So you might say, I'm not going to be able to service you. Like, how, what are you looking for when you meet with someone sitting across from you? What are some of the signs?
Excellent. So obviously the experience first on the resume
Right.
is a discussion.
Right, because the numbers are the numbers. If they're raising real money, if they're being straight, okay.
Thank you. Your audience can't see our body language, but that's exactly
a giant
right.
assumption. You're saying
Right.
Okay.
There's certain nuances in a resume that have more questions asked.
Okay.
And of course we go through that. We none of my clients expect to hire someone with their, what do they call, Rolodex.
Right.
People give to people, but the combination of the person who's doing the ask and the mission and the organization or the academic institution is what really speaks to them.
Yeah.
So we're
The donors are not just transferable. Like I've got my book of donors. I'm going to bring it from one place to the next.
coming from the Wall Street world, which I did. Families are transferable because if you're leaving a name, Merrill Lynch, and going to Citigroup, whatever, and you take your book of business,
with you.
they're going to hire you and they're going to give you a bonus, and very nice. Doesn't happen in the Jewish nonprofit world. So going back to how do you ascertain that the person will be relevant to the job? Again, sitting across someone and asking the relevant questions and hearing them. Basically, I put myself. It's like a mock donor meeting. I don't say to them, "Look, talk to me."
I'm a donor.
Right, I'm a donor. Tell me how you'd sell me. No,
Right.
but the question.
Sell me this pen. Right.
Right, but the questions that I ask them, there are two types of question every interviewer asks. And
Okay.
I tell this to every candidate and every client. So I do the same thing when I'm meeting with a candidate. There are open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. Most interviewers should be asking open-ended questions. As an example, what's the largest gift you've closed? The answer that the person could say to me is, $75,000. Not the wrong answer, but it's the wrong answer because the conversation dies.
Right. That's closed. Closed answer.
Right. I want to see this person across the desk from me when I ask him. So your resume says you close 6-figure gifts. They don't put it. Tell me what's the largest gift you've closed. And the right way of approaching it is, Willie, if I can just take a moment to tell you how I cultivated a donor. First time I met him, we did this, we did that. He gave me $5,000. Relationship grew over time. And, after 3-4 years, he's now my largest donor, and I just closed a $200,000 gift.
That narrative, that story tells you more about their acumen and their soft skills and everything it took to make them a donor, as opposed to just saying a dollar amount.
You want to come recruit for me?
I've been tempted. Whenever I meet people who I like and the work they do, I'm like, I could do this. I think we could.
So that's how you have to ascertain as best as you can the art,
right,
and the feeling and the way of how they communicate with donors and their team members.
Right. Okay, so that's really, really interesting. So hopefully when they pass that kind of test with you and they have good conversation with you and they're primed and they meet with the school, whoever they're meeting with, they're going to bring that same energy and the same approach to the interview, and they're going to hopefully be able to achieve. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in the initial question, which I've noticed as a nuance, is that you could be like a Jewish Federation executive, right? You are very good operating within the machine, right? Like you are a spoke in the wheel. You are in charge of doctors who give between $1,000 and $10,000, like your portfolio, and you're really good at it. Mm-hmm. And then you say, you know what? I want to go be the director of development or executive director of this like rinky-dink small place that requires a lot more entrepreneurial type skills. And the seasoned Federation exec can struggle and not be able to be successful because it requires a different kind of muscle that they flex that they don't have. Have you encountered that as a challenge one way to the other? Like, the nature of the organization being not necessarily a good fit.
Perfect. To use your example, we would know in advance the ideal candidate profile from our client. In your example, we would not even present a federation type personality with that excellent Harvard, fundraising background for a federation to a smaller school or nonprofit. It's just not a fit.
Right.
So we wouldn't even get to the point of wasting the candidate's time and the client's time in that example. Part of the art that we are hopefully good at is not only asking our client, send me the job description, great, we understand it, and we go. It's what's not on the job description.
Oh,
it's the ideal candidate profile. And I'm not talking about male, female.
Right.
I'm talking about exactly the example that you gave. Where's the ideal person coming from? What's their background? And do they look for career advancement in terms of where they've been and what they can now do? So the best example is what you gave, and I always give to clients is, and we love federations, we work with them, but also federations come to us sometimes and saying, look, I don't want to see a federation person from City X coming to us. I'm not looking to move pieces on the chessboard.
People around, right?
I don't want to move on the chessboard. We want non-federation, because we want to see where they come from and what they could bring to us as a different mindset and as a different way of selling, and a different way of closing.
I respect that.
Right. So that's how we learn a lot from our client of what their ideal candidate profile is before we even hit the ground running.
So do you also work with younger professionals who are more early in their career, or do you tend to be more C-suite, more a senior?
Great question. What I think sets us apart from most, if not all, recruiting companies, a lot of recruiting companies, if you send them your resume, not for a specific job, but I just want to send you my resume. If you have anything for me, let me know. They will only contact you when the pluses and the minuses, everything adds up, that something comes up from the system. Oh, Jonah's resume comes up because this is the job that he looks good for.
Right.
I'll get an inquiry. My recruiters will get an inquiry. Hi, I was recommended to talk to you. I'm sending you my resume. Can you find 15, 20 minutes, a half hour? I'm looking for career guidance. Okay, and I know what that means. They're looking for their next job.
Right.
They're gainfully employed, or maybe they're not. We really try to take the time to talk to almost anyone who presents to us relevancy. Doesn't have to be today that we have a job.
Right.
So to get right to your question, we will, and we'd like to talk to younger, not by age, younger, newer to
Right.
the industry
More
of
inexperienced.
because hopefully they are tomorrow's leaders.
Yep.
Not everybody is going to be around forever.
Yep.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And
No way around that.
And I'm talking about retirement, not
yeah.
anything
Oh,
else.
okay, fine.
I know. I got you. So, so we like to talk about younger people who have invested in, and let's stick to the development lane.
Right.
They've stuck to they've invested in development. They started maybe in the back office, working on donor relations, maybe the gala, whatever they're doing, and then they've dipped their toes a little in donor facing
Right.
for four-figure gifts and things. They've been given a portfolio, but they've shown success and they're ready to make that next step. We love that.
Right.
And we just have to find them
one
the
of
right
things that
job.
I've encountered is that there are a lot of times, maybe it's a generational thing, but what I was always taught was if you were a younger professional, go work for a place that's a well-oiled machine, so you learn what it looks like when it's done properly. Right. So I got my career start at the Associated in Baltimore, and it was like a good training federation. It was like they gave you a role, they taught me why we do the things that we do and how we do it, and therefore when I would leave from there, I had the kind of the building blocks. I'll be able to take that and go to some place that might require me to be a little bit more entrepreneurial or different, because I learned what a good place looks. I saw the example of a good place. I find that it's a lot of people who come to me now for advice are like saying, "Oh, there's a director of development position, like first job out of for this organization, that organization." I'm like, "Whoa, relax." Like you'll get to those positions, but go work for a place and see and be one of like 50 employees. Like go learn how they do it, and you'll get so much more out of that. Do you encounter at all like more of like a cultural shift where people want to jump into some of these roles, and when it's like just take an opportunity to go work for someone that's like been doing it for a long time?
The one word answer is yes, or two words, of course, but there's two directions. I'll go back to the example of the Federation, which whether it's the UJ Federation in New York or Cleveland or Miami, I call them, they're the Harvard of the Jewish nonprofit for education of
Right.
how to do development.
Right.
They have their way of doing it. Now, if you become a lifer at Federation, God bless you.
Wonderful.
But if you have a good undertaking, an initial, you're working in that world, it'll take you far.
Yeah.
You'll then go to another organization, small or large.
Yep.
The other avenue, and we've worked with $1 million organization.
Mm-hmm.
The executive director is polished, he or she has wonderful credentials. He or she's been doing the development, and now they need a director of development just by title.
Right.
They are looking for and willing to train someone. They have to have some experience in development, like I said, the middle office, the back office, some initial contact with potential donors.
Mm-hmm.
But small organizations will afford you sometimes more of a one-on-one, one-on-two experience to really hone in your career.
Yep.
So it's nothing wrong with also working with a smaller organization where there's little no bureaucracy, and you
they're
can really
nimble, they can make decisions
and they
quick.
can take the time to train you in the science of selling.
Yes.
You still have to
Yeah,
have that
found,
art.
Yeah, you found more of like a mentorship of
Right.
an intimacy where you're able to really have somebody who, like, you respect them and say, "Oh, I've got a lot to learn from them." Even if it's not a big bureaucratic institution, you can actually, get more done.
And you spend a few years there, and then your career can then blossom to same size organization or go bigger and bigger. So there's two paths. There's that federation or bigger organization,
Sure.
starting with them, or the small one where you get almost a one-on-one or two-on-one experience.
Okay, so I want to end the conversation really specifically talking about Jewish education in schools, because as we know, the question of day school sustainability, or the ability to make sure that a school is able to bring in the revenue they need, because their main source of revenue is very unreliable, like day school tuition. So many families are not paying full tuition. If you imagine any business, if your main revenue source was like, "Oh, we can't pay our bills," then you have a bad business. But in the day school world, we have to do what we have to do, and development is an integral part of the success of any school. So what is some advice that you have for Jewish day schools, yeshivas, cheters, high schools, when it comes to looking for development talent, if they're saying, okay, we need, now remember, they're looking from the perspective like our house is on fire, right? We need to make payroll. There's like an urgency to it. Like we need someone now. And they're running around saying, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? What is some advice you can give them to tell them to like, all right, hold your horses, take a pause. If you want to get someone that's going to be in this position and grow in this position and succeed in this position and set your school up for long-term success, here are some things to consider. What advice could you give to schools?
So great question. I will answer that by the following. A friend of mine is on the board of a Jewish day school in the New York City area. I don't want to be too specific.
Sure.
And he said to me, we're going to need a director of development. I want to put you in touch with head of school, person X, etc. And I said to him, I don't want to say his name.
Yeah, of course.
I said, fundraising in a Jewish day school is one of the hardest jobs. He said, Willie, if any other search firm would tell me, no problem, we could do this real easy, we wouldn't hire them.
Right.
You're not only being honest, but I'm being straight.
Sobering.
Sobering.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's being sobering. Why is the Jewish day school the hardest? And I'll get to your specific question in a minute. Because your audience is a targeted audience in a way. Sure, there are those in the community, not parents or grandparents, but people who are of means and want to support Jewish education in their community, be it a large community or a small community. So they're targeted donors, and great, you cultivate them. The parents are the hardest because the parents are already paying tuition. If they're paying full tuition, if not, they're on scholarship. They have X number of
Their
kids.
relationship with the school is transactional. They're paying a fee for service, so they're not thinking philanthropically. Even if they have money, they'll be like, "Oh, I'll go get to United Hatzalah. I'll give it. Oh, my school. Oh no, they get $50,000 a day school tuition. They're done.
Exactly.
Right? So I think there's
so
a lot of things working against.
So
them.
the school works. The development person in the school, hopefully gets a bigger picture, talks to the grandparents, gets permission, all that stuff, and they get funds from that way as well. The ideal academic institution keeps very good records of their alumni. Mm-hmm. Now remember, elementary, even high school, you're talking 18. So by the time they can be somewhat philanthropic, not including the $18 that they might give to their alumni, it's several years out.
Yeah, the first 10 years are still on mommy and daddy's payroll.
But you have to keep in touch with those so that when you find out so-and-so is a banker, a hedge fund, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever they are, that they have, again, we're going to Hebrew, hakarat hatov, thanks to their institution where they graduated from, thank God, and their career path.
Right.
So that's the environment that you're in. Every so often we will get a call from academic institution. We need to hire a fundraiser, and we need him to raise X, this year. And just like you said, you could tell them the same answer. 5 words. It doesn't work that way.
Right, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. If I hear from them,
what they're looking is for a messiah.
Right.
Someone's going to be like a rainmaker.
It's not even a unicorn. That's right. They don't exist.
Right.
If I can convince them and they really believe that they have to invest.
Right.
And a lot of times what I suggest to them is, look, you've got to find, before you hire this person, whether it's board members, plural, or some, family that's philanthropic that will fund you for a year.
Yeah.
Okay? To get you over the hump.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Then this person's coming in with the expectation of cultivating all the steps of this process, cultivating relationships, closing, and then eventually closing gifts.
Movement early on if they're getting out of the office. If they're hiding behind their desk the entire time, then you have a problem. But if you see them going out there, they're doing doing qualifying visits with potential donors to learn about them, and you're doing cultivation steps and solicitations and stewardship, then you could say, even if the numbers are not necessarily there yet, this person's definitely got the momentum behind them. They're developing a rapport with the donors, and then the donor will say, "I'm happy to go bigger on."
Right, and that's the perfect combination. But you can't expect to do it on your own or do it through a recruiting company, and expect to solve your problem, in X number of months.
Right. And by the way, it's not even a Jewish problem. If you look at the data on how long a development professional stays in their role, it's like 18 months. And they're gone.
We have thank God our historical statistics are better than that.
Right. Well, I mean, the work that you're doing is
Right,
better,
no,
right?
right. In
But I'm
other
saying
words,
that
that we place someone
You guys
at which-
are a class act and a great service.
Thank you,
But I'm
but-
saying the general masses,
Yeah.
there's so little patience for a development professional to be able to step up and do the great work, and that whether it's the executive director is like it's okay, but a board member is like, what the heck? Where's the money? Like there's a lot of chefs. There are a lot of chefs who have got their finger on the scale.
Right.
So it's a challenge. But yeah, if you're really nuanced and you're able to find the right talent, it can
Look,
be great.
it's a partnership. I always tell my clients, even from the interview perspective, you're interviewing this professional development person. They're interviewing you as well.
Right.
It has to be a partnership that is mutually beneficial and works
Right.
to be, at least at the beginning, understood to be successful. Roadblocks happen, stuff
course.
happens,
That's
but
life.
exactly. But at the initial start, everybody's got to be on the same page with expectations.
Okay, so if folks want to, first of all, do what I used to do and peruse all the amazing job opportunities, or if they want to reach out to you because they are either getting an itch and saying, I need to go onto my next career, or they're miserable in their current employment, how is the best way for them to reach you?
Thank you, John. So the name of our division is still called Joel Paul Group, but our parent company is Moraine. So the website is www.moraine, MERRAINE.com. Homepage has a job board. You'll see the jobs out there by industry, and you can send us your resume. Even if you're not applying for a specific job, there's a way to send us your resume, get in touch with us. My personal email address for business is William@JoelPaul still. William@JoelPaul.com.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Willie. I appreciate you coming today.
Jonah, it's a pleasure seeing you, and I wish you and your listeners all the best in the coming year.